Dear friend, in last two videos I have discussed with you about why humans think and what are our emotions. My next issue is what is behavior. Behavior has to be understood in a different context. We have learned behavior a lot in books of psychology through various researches and through various experiments done by many psychologists. Now, the domain of behavior is very complex, and capturing it in the context it should be is not so easy. To my sense, I think the behavior can be classified into three domains. The first domain is abnormal behavior. The second domain is normal behavior. And third domain is ideally normal behavior. What I read and what I understood from the different research, the study of abnormal behavior is done in last 100 years a lot. And the study is focusing in such a way that after continuous improvement, American Psychological Association has finally published a list of abnormal behavior in terms of its criteria, description and symptoms. That is called as DSM-5 text, which is recently published. And to my sense, the abnormal behavior is well explained in DSM-5 text. The criteria is well refined. Of course, further refinement is required. However, for clinical psychologists, understanding abnormal behavior becomes easy through DSM-5 text. The second is normal behavior. Now here the question comes, what is a normal behavior? And then even myself and many students may get confused. What is a normal behavior? We can understand abnormal behavior easily, but what is normal behavior? To understand a normal behavior, I have then chosen a safe way. That is, normal behavior can be further classified into two zones. One is ideally normal behavior and second is normal behavior. Now this normal behavior has to be explained in the context of country, demography, regions, various geographies, culture, community, caste, and so many such factors in which the normal behavior itself changes from behavior to behavior. One behavior which is normal in American society cannot be considered the normal behavior in Indian society. Or what the normal behavior is in Indian community cannot be considered the normal behavior in African continent. So, to make precise understanding of a normal behavior, I intend to understand ideally normal behavior. And as I have explained you, yes, we can accept that the 80% people performing the kind of behavior, the type of behavior in a given society, in given continent, in a given nation can be considered as a normal behavior. But beyond that, we have to understand ideally normal behavior. And here, really, there is a big question mark. The study on ideal near normal behavior is very less. It is not studied appropriately. Somewhere I read that Australian psychologist has begun with understanding phenomena of a normal behavior, but again facing lots of difficulty in experimentation. They have done some experiment, but unless and until the behavior can be classified into two, a normal behavior and ideally normal behavior, it is very difficult to define and comprehend the normal behavior. So, in my opinion, what should be the ideally normal behavior? It must be explained first. There are lots of researches from last 200 years. Various societies has done it. There are some principles and theories well accepted in the fraternity of psychologists that we know. So I can just say that ideal normal behavior is one in which a person behaves from trust and love maximum and from fear minimum. Trust and love are two basic components which governs our behavior throughout our life. And fear is another component. I cannot say fear is negative or fear is positive. Fear is fear. But remember, fear is not anxiety. Fear is real fear. But fear level should be minimum. And trust and love level should be maximum. Can we call such behavior as an ideally normal behavior? And who are the people governed by maximum levels of trust and love and minimum levels of fears throughout their life? None of their lifespan has gone without using this combination of behavior. Again, the cases will be rarer, very difficult to find out, and therefore I feel that study of ideal normal behavior is important. In fact, I just said about 3 factors. But as the lifespan will progress, some more factor will be added. And then in a given community, in a given culture, we will be able to differentiate ideal normal behavior from the normal behavior of the society. And probably that is a requirement nowadays. On one side, Ukraine is fighting with Russia but destroying itself. The country is destroying itself. On the other side, the Russia is fighting with Ukraine with the fear that Western countries may not increase their dominance in their continent. But here, it is very difficult to understand the minimum level of fear. Russia is also fearful. Ukraine is also fearful. And both countries are having fear for a different reasons. So, what is a minimum level of fear? That has to be defined, that has to be understood well. Then on the other side, I said maximum level of trust and love. The behavior of America, you just compare the behavior of America, India and China. The political heroes of America, India and China, how they are behaving. Yet they have not entered into any kind of war situation. Of course, warlike situation has come, but war has not begun. Whether it is a case of Vietnam, the way it is handled by American leadership, and the way it is handled by Chinese leadership, I think they have kept fear level minimum. And at the same time, their love for humanity, their trust with each other has not crossed the boundaries so that the war can begin. So China and America, in contrast with the Russia and Ukraine, is a good example of expressing the kind of behavior which they have expressed. Now here I am talking about the country, and it is my own understanding. Now how it can be applied to human individual? How you can understand in the context of lifespan? How infancy, childhood, adolescence age, adulthood and aging will be affected by such ideal normal behavior. Of course, this ideal normal behavior will not be constant. It will be changing in a various lifespan. But a psychologist can set an optimum level of such behavior, and through research, such optimum level can be understood. Once that optimum level will be understood, it can be applied worldwide. Of course, the norms from different country will be little different, but the difference will not be very high. The difference will not be very high to the extent of denying one normal behavior in one country as claiming it the same is abnormal behavior in other country. Friends, this is the area of real research for psychologists. And I hope as Australian psychologist has begun to study the ideal normal behavior, or say so-called normal behavior, we, the psychologist fraternity, can think at least about the ideal normal behavior. It is far away. It will take a long period because it needs experimentation. It needs experimentation all over the world. 1 or 2 experiments or 10 experiments are not sufficient. But I personally feel unless and until we classify the behavior in terms of ideally normal behavior and abnormal behavior, the study of psychology, human mind cannot be completed. Thank you very much. Thank you, friends. This is my personal view. After studying lots of psychological research and after teaching to students from last 10 years, I feel ideally normal behavior must be explored. Probably that will help the human society. Thank you, friends. If you like my views, my ideas, please subscribe my channel. Thank you very much. I am Professor Shankar Busari speaking to all.